Hi, welcome, and thanks for joining me as we discuss the top 5 reasons to teach grammar as a concept and use it in context. My name is Kristen Blees, and I'm an instructional strategist with Wayside Publishing. And as a language teacher myself, I believe implementing this strategy to teach grammar makes so much pedagogical sense and will really transform how your students understand and are able to use grammar in the target language. And guess what? ACTFL agrees. About 5 years ago, they produced a list of 6 core practices that all language teachers should be implementing to provide the best avenue to proficiency for their students. And notice what's on the list. Teach grammar as a concept and use in context. So, without further ado, let's look at 5 reasons to do just that. Our first reason is not a new idea. The discovery learning movement of the 1960s is often credited to Jerome Brunner, but his work was actually spurred by John Dewey's ideas in the late 18 and early 1900s. However, it's as true today as it was back then. There is more learning happening when students are the ones doing the work instead of having it done to them. Think of it this way. Our job is not to pour all our knowledge into our students. We don't have to be their knowledge provider. We need to guide them and give them the tools they need to learn. We need to ignite a fire that they can use to light their learning path. And research tells us that when it's the students who are the ones doing the exploring, discovering, and using of the language, they're going to gain a greater understanding of how those structures function and be able to use them more effectively to communicate, which is what we want, right? So moving on to our top reason number 2. If we're allowing students to discover how language is used, then we need to provide them examples of real-life language being used. This is best done in context so that students can better understand how, why, and when the target structure is used. A great way to provide this context is with authentic resources, which is, if you remember from the second slide, is another one of ACTFL's core practices. When we use authentic resources, we're assuring our students that what they're learning is applicable outside of the classroom and is really how the language is used. Let's look at some examples of what I'm talking about. So instead of teaching, for example, informal commands, in the traditional way, where you give your students all the information about how to form and use this grammar structure, provide them with examples of how they are used in real life. Here we have commands being used to let people know how to take care of their skin and what are good habits for eating in a restaurant. There's also an HBO ad reminding viewers to speak up and vote. And on the right, you see a screenshot of a video from Cheyenne's song Madre Tierra Oye that is about how to make the most of life. By using these types of examples, we're making grammar more interesting for our students. And not only is it more interesting, it makes sense to them. Create tasks that simulate what is being done in these examples. Have them create another advice on how to take care of or good habits poster, or come up with other lines for the chorus of the song that we should do to make the most of our life. Have them discuss what else we should do to fulfill our civic duties in addition to speaking up and voting. By teaching and using grammar in context, we're helping our students to be able to actually use it themselves, which leads us to our next point. Since students have been working with real-life examples of the language structures, they've been seeing how and why those structures are being used. so it makes more sense for them when they go to use it. They have that experience in their brain that allows them to hook onto it and recall it when they need to communicate something similar. Whether they're traveling or studying abroad, they will be able to access all of that knowledge you help them discover so that they can communicate to meet their needs or to meet new friends. If you're still not sure about the validity of teaching grammar as a concept and in context, reason number 4 should help clear up any doubts that are lingering. Research shows that explicit grammar instruction, which is how we traditionally have been teaching grammar, has little effect on helping the students to use that language to actually communicate. And it's definitely not just me saying this is the way to teach grammar. And heck, it's not even just ACTFL telling us to do it. It is based off of research from some of the top second language acquisition experts out there. Many of us teach the way we were taught without knowing why we do it or even if it's effective. We know it worked for us because, hey, look at us, we're bilingual. But we were destined to be bilingual regardless how we were taught. We were going to become teachers. We love the language, and many of us even love grammar. And that's not necessarily the case for our students. But when we base how we teach off of what research says is effective, then we are providing the best possible chance for our students to become proficient in the language and perhaps even come to love the language and maybe even love the grammar too. And our last reason, reason number 5, goes back to what I just mentioned on the previous slide. We became teachers. We love grammar. We get grammar. However, that's not true for most of our students. We need to really think about those students who are in the seats in our classrooms. How are they going to use the language they're learning in the future? Okay, yes, undoubtedly, there are a few who may go on to careers where they have to know about grammar rules and be able to explain them. I was once in a workshop and the presenter called these types of students the top 4%ers. However, most of our students are the other 96% though. The vast majority of our kiddos will use it to enjoy their vacations more fully, as part of their job occasionally, or even maybe even on a daily basis. Some may even conduct business or confirm international agreements in the target language. But to do all of these, it's not about knowing grammar rules. It's about being able to use them, which is what teaching grammar inductively, as a concept and in context, will help them do. So, why not do it? Let's recap our 5 reasons to teach grammar as a concept and in context. First, students will better learn the language structures when they are the ones figuring out the rules with our guidance. Second, when teaching grammar in this way, students see examples of real-life language and how native speakers actually use it, which leads us to our 3rd reason, that when they see the examples and have worked through discovering the rules based on those examples, they're going to more easily be able to use that information to communicate. 4th, when we explain all the rules and nuances of grammar, that really has little effect on how students are able to retrieve that information to actually use it in the moment when they need it. And finally, number 5, most of our students don't need that nitty-gritty level of grammar rule detail. They need to know when, why, and how to use it at their level. If this webinar has sparked an interest for you in this topic, check out these other resources we have available. On the Wayside Publishing YouTube channel, there's a video that goes into how to actually teach grammar in context. And we also have a blog post that has some examples of using authentic resources to teach grammar in context. I hope this webinar has made you think and perhaps rethink how to teach grammar. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks for joining me today.